Good evening. For those who don't know me, my name is Mrs. Garrett. I'm the head teacher at Fred Longworth High School. We're going to call it Freddy's from now on in because that's what everybody tends to call it. I want to welcome you to our virtual meeting for Year 6 parents and students, and we accept that this is not the way that we would normally have wanted to have done our transition evening, but of course circumstances mean that we can't actually hold it physically in school. However, I hope you find the following video of some use. You're going to hear from a lot of people tonight, and hopefully this will be the first stage in settling your child into school and helping them to overcome those nerves that there may well be on this idea of transition to secondary school. Of course, this year those nerves might be a little more acute because of the situation that we find ourselves in, and some students, I know not all Year 6s have gone back, so some students will have been out of school possibly since March, but we aim to make sure that it's going to be as smooth as possible. And the first thing I want to assure you is that for the first 2 days of the September term, you will be the only year group in school, in fact, and obviously we will use those 2 days to make sure that you're well settled in before we welcome the rest of the school back on the 3rd day of term. The main purpose of this evening is really to reassure you and to make sure that you've got as much practical information as you need to make a really successful first start. And I want to focus really on that sense of belonging and togetherness. We always regard ourselves as a Freddy's family, and pupils and staff speak with affection about that. We've really missed being together as a family, as a school these last few months, and we are looking forward to welcoming not just Year 7, but the rest of the year groups back into school in September, and hope that it'll be as smooth as possible as your child makes a start. I want to focus in on one bullet point on this slide. Normally we would talk a lot about professional staff and our high expectations and the fact that we've got this family atmosphere, but I know there's one word that will be jumping out at you from that slide with things as they stand, and that's the word safe. We know that we're in very unusual circumstances, and I really want to reassure you that our plans for the students making a safe return to school in September are well underway, and we think we've done absolutely everything to make sure that there's nothing to be worried about at all. You will be worried, of course you will, some of you, but I'm hoping that tonight will go some way towards alleviating those fears and making you realise that your child's safety is our absolute first priority. What I would say is in September we will be bringing in some really strict social distancing measures, and where possible Year 7 will be kept as a separate bubble. There will be no mixing between the year groups in school, and they'll even be separated outside areas for the students to go to so that they are away from other year groups. Where possible, we will cut that down to form group sizes, so a lot of the teaching unusually will be done in form groups, at least for the first term. We hope to keep you together as small form groups, really for as much of the teaching as possible. We're also bringing in staggered lunch times and staggered breaks so that there are fewer students around in the corridors and outside in the outside areas at those times. And also, of course, the advantage of that will be that there'll be a quicker service at lunchtime because there will be fewer students actually queuing up. You can send your child into school absolutely with your mind at rest. And obviously we'll publish all the details on the website as and when the plans are actually finalised. And you can carry on expecting all the things that have helped Freddy's to build that reputation in the community. Your child's form tutor, together with Head of Year, Mrs. Killey, will make sure that your child receives first-class pastoral support. We'll aim to keep in contact with you as much as we possibly can, and we ask that you let us know if there is some reason that you need to be in touch with us. We do realise that we don't get absolutely everything right, no school ever does, but we will listen to your concerns and we will act upon them where things are necessary to be done. We also encourage your child very, very strongly to get involved in school life. The best advice I can give you is to take up all the opportunities that are going to be on offer. Now, we accept that some of the extra activities that we would normally do are going to be restricted inevitably over the first few weeks and months of your child being at Freddy's. But sooner or later, things will return to a greater sense of normality, and our usual wonderful range of extracurricular activities for things like the arts and PE will be there. In the meantime, we see student council will still go ahead, and that student council gives the students a real voice with real influence, including in appointing staff. So there's lots and lots and lots to look forward to. But I'm now going to hand over to Mr. Worley, Deputy Head, who's going to talk you through some of the practicalities. Thank you.
Hello everybody, welcome to our Year 6 parents. It's nice to speak to you tonight, even though we're not meeting face to face. And what I'd like to do first of all is just to go through our transition programme, what we've done so far. If I could just mention, however, this is a recorded presentation, so if you do post any questions, they won't be answered obviously live. So if you go to the website, the Year 6 questions page on the school website, please, and post any questions, and I will respond to those questions within 24 hours. Okay. So in terms of what we've done so far this year, you will have received some information and a couple of letters earlier in the term. So spent quite a bit of time putting students into forums, getting all the information from the primary schools, and these letters then went out on the 1st of June that week. Had lots of contact from parents, talking to them about the forms that the students were put in, and hopefully everything's sorted at this point. What we've done then, because we've not been able to go into most primary schools, we've arranged Zoom meetings or Google Classroom meetings with primary school children, and I've managed to meet quite a number of students on Zoom and Google, and that's been nice to meet your sons and daughters. Okay. Also this week, so I'm recording this the week before the 13th of July, so we've got Meet the Form Tutor meetings for those parents who've managed to get their information sent through to us, email addresses, and also download Microsoft Teams. So hopefully a lot of you and your children will have had a Meet the Tutor meeting with the form tutor. Some children have also had one-to-one meetings through Teams or phone calls, and other students, for example, those who have educational healthcare plans, have had Teams meetings with Mrs. Gannon and Mrs. Waring. And lastly, we've done a video, and if you've not managed to see that, it's on the website. It's the Year 6 transition video, which I hope you find very useful, because staff have put together lots of clips about their faculty areas welcoming children to the school. Okay, so I'd now like to hand over to Mrs. Killer, who's Head of Year.
Hello, my name's Mrs. Killer, and I'm going to be your child or children's Head of Year. I say children because we've got quite a few twins coming this time, so that's going to be interesting. I have worked here for 15 years, so this is the 4th time that I have worked on transition from primary to secondary. I'm really looking forward to working with you and building up a relationship. I want your children to do the best. I want them to do the best academically, but also I want them to participate in as many extracurricular activities as they can do to make a rounded child. But I want them to be happy. Transition has been difficult this time. We haven't been able to get the children in. We haven't been able to go to the schools and get to know them. But don't worry about that. We will do that in September. And more importantly, I'm looking forward to meeting them and getting to know my new year team, my new blue ties. Thank you. A few key people for you to know are my Deputy Heads of Year, who are attached, and Mrs. Bailey is attached as a safeguarding officer. These are the form tutors. You will know the names because you've had the letter explaining who they are. Other key staff that were very important to the year team are Mrs. Gannon, Mrs. Bailey and Mrs. Ray. I'd like you now to introduce to Mr. Davis. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Paul Davis. I'm the Curriculum Deputy here at Fred Longworth High School, and I'm going to talk to you now about the academic transition for your child as they move from Year 6 into Year 7. I'm going to touch on a number of issues and themes just to explore with you. Some of it is how, as a parent, you'll be able to support your child in the journey that they're going to make with us over the next 5 years at school. We'll talk to you a little bit about certain strategies and things that you can be doing that will be really helpful. Talk to you a little bit about how we group the children, or planning to group the children in Year 7, as well as addressing one or two other minor things as well in terms of lack of data that we've got, because your children have not had and its SATs, and how we propose to manage that situation as well. Because obviously it's a very, very difficult time at the minute, and this is not the ideal, obviously, method of transition. And I've talked to you as a parent there as well, because my daughter is in year 6 and she's also going up to high school this time, and the anxieties that you'll be feeling, you know, I feel them myself as a parent, and totally understand where you're coming from with that one. But rest assured, as a school, we've done everything we possibly can. We'll do everything we possibly can to make sure, you know, your child comes in up to us and is successful and is able to thrive and develop at Fred Longworth High School, and rightly so. So just to start us off then, I'd like to think about, you know, when your child started primary school, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, okay, dead keen, okay, and as they're going into secondary school and they become teenagers, okay, it starts to change. It can become challenging, and the teenage years will set in, okay, and what can we do? What do we do as a school to help keep your child focused, to help keep your child motivated? They're all parts of the transition into year 7, and thinking about how we develop your children and develop the skills that they're going to need to be successful. So we start with the curriculum. We start by looking at what we actually teach the children. And here at Freddy's, in year 7, your child will be doing what's essentially a broad and balanced curriculum. They'll be covering a range of subjects, from academic subjects to creative subjects. And we pride ourselves on the fact that we give the children exposure to a range of different subjects. And that's one of the things that probably excites your children when they're coming up to school, the fact that they'll be doing design and technology, or they'll be doing science experiments and things that they've not necessarily done before at primary school. You know, that's part of the secondary ethos, what we do as a school. And your children will be studying that curriculum for 3 years, in year 7, 8 and 9. And then in year 9, they'll pick their options and they'll start to specialise in subjects that they wish to do at GCSE. At the end of the 5 years, of course, what we all hope is that your children become fine, bright, intelligent, young people who are ready to enter the world of work, to go on to college, you know, that the world becomes their oyster, and we as a school have given them everything that we possibly can to make them successful young people and give them those building blocks to, you know, go forward. So there's a lot of things that we do, not just around the academic curriculum, but things that, you know, employers value, which are the soft skills, and we'll work with your children on developing those things as well, you know, extracurricular activities that they can be involved in, whole raft of things that are going to be important in the next 5 years. And we encourage your children to embrace every opportunity that we can offer at Freddy's in that respect. What I've got to stress, though, that, you know, the journey at Freddy's that your children are going to make, your support and guidance as parents is going to be critical over the next 5 years, and particularly in year 7, where your role really is going to be to help your child get into the really good routines and study habits that they're going to need to be successful. The research is overwhelmingly clear: when parents play a positive role in their children's education, students do better in school. It goes without saying, the more involved and the more support that you can give your child at secondary school, you know, pays dividends when it comes to them in year 10 and year 11, when, you know, they're doing the exam subjects and they need to be in good routines. If you've set the stall out now early doors when they're younger, that's really going to help them go forward. So in terms of year 7, what are the things that you can do as a parent to help your children be successful at secondary school? So monitoring the homework and ensuring they get into good study habits is really, really critical. And I'm going to share with you how, you know, we can do that and work with you, help support you do that through the systems that we have at school. Another thing to be very mindful of is you know, being organised and encouraging your child to be organised each day for school. So that does involve, you know, checking the timetable the night before, making sure that they've got the correct books, they've got the right equipment, the PE kit, the maths calculator that they need for that day, whatever it is. Parents really play a critical role in organising their children for school and making sure they're prepared and ready to come and learn in school. Their punctuality is important as well, making sure your children get into school on time, setting them an alarm, getting them up, making sure they've had breakfast and get to school on time, all part of those routines that's essential for young people to be successful at school. And obviously Mr. Wally will talk to you about the last point there, but that's attendance. Obviously, if they're not in school, we can't teach them, so we need good attendance so that we can do what we can do with them at school, work with them, get the best from them. Okay, so it's really important as a parent that, you know, you establish those routines with your children very early on. We use a piece of software in school which is called Show My Homework, or Satchel 1, as it's actually just become known as. It's the same thing. And Show My Homework is a piece of software that allows you to monitor the homework that's been set for your child in the day. It's an app. So the teachers will set the homework and it sends the message to the children. So they have access to the app, telling them exactly what they have to do with homework, sharing resources. But it also, you get access to that as well. So you can see what homework's been set for your children. And that's such an important tool to have, because it allows you to set the routines for the children. You know, you've got maths homework tonight, you need to sit down, you need to get on with it, then you need to do your English. You know, it allows you to have those kind of conversations with your children. And very, very simple device that just pings up on your mobile, which you can see the picture of it there, telling you what the homework is. Very clear for the child, and it's very clear for you as well. And that's quite an important way in which you can support us at school. Another key thing as well that we ask parents, particularly in secondary, is that you carefully monitor your child's use of the phone or the tablet or other devices, you know, Xboxes, etc. As children enter those teenage years, we do start to see misuse of mobile technology and other technologies. You know, children, for example, spending all night gaming and then coming into school exhausted because they've been up till the early hours playing on games or on the phones. It's just not healthy, and it's not conducive to good study habits. And obviously we can't monitor that at home. So we ask that as parents, you know, you be mindful of your child's use of their device and police it and monitor it to make sure that it's appropriate, because, you know, it can be quite damaging to a teenager, to a young person, if that's not carefully monitored. So please be mindful. Okay. Another key thing as parents that you'll be able to do to support your child, and this is, I think, particularly important in the current circumstances and the current climate that we're in, is to really encourage your child to read. And particularly important, I think, over the summer months, given that they've not been in school or intermittently over the last few months, we really need to make sure your children have got good reading habits. And that's because the GCSE examinations, they have a reading age of 15 years and 7 months. And it's very sad I have to report this, but sadly we do have children in our current year 9 who've got reading ages as low as 7 years. So they can't access the texts that they're expected to access when they start to do the GCSE courses. So as a parent, if nothing else, encourage your child to read, and we will be saying 30 minutes a day. And if you want to read with your child as well, and particularly, they're still young enough for that to happen and for that to have an impact and be effective, then absolutely do so. It's something that's going to be really important. And just pose that question to you. What is it like to be 14 and unable to read? Okay, and you don't want your child to be going through the next 2-3 years of high school with low reading age and unable to access the text that they're going to need to be successful at school. We use an expression at Freddy's. When they're at primary school, children learn to read, but when they get to secondary school, they read to learn. So it really is important that, you know, we encourage the children to become fluent, effective readers, and as parents, you can really support that by encouraging them to read. To help you with that, we've put together a reading list of recommended texts for year 7 and 8 students, so, you know, almost at the age your children will be at. And you can see on the screen that there are different genres, etc., depending on your child's interests, but they're just their suggestions from our English department about recommended reads. This PowerPoint will be available, so you'll have access to that list, and there's a link to the list as well, which is on our school website. But obviously, if you want to encourage your child to read, but you're not quite sure if, you know, text that to use with them, well, there's some suggestions there that will be particularly helpful for you. And the other thing just to raise with you as well is obviously that in talking about parental engagement and parental support, we build an active partnership with parents, and we encourage you to come into school where appropriate. At the time of putting together this presentation, we're not able to put the calendar together next year in any great detail and specify the specific events that you know we'd invite you to. So the progress review evening, and where you will come in and talk to your child's form tutor and get an overview of how they've settled into school. We will be scheduling those events in due course when we've got you know, the guidance from the government to do so. At the point of doing this, I haven't got that guidance, so apologies for being vague, but we will put these events on in due course and look out for them. So those events also include parental workshops, curriculum evenings, where we offer practical sessions for parents, talk through some in a bit more detail than I can do here about some of the strategies and things that you can do to support your child at home, some of the study techniques, some of the memory techniques that we use in school. We share those with parents as well, because there's things that you can be doing with your child. So look out for those workshops as and when they become available. We finished the year 7 with student-led conferences, and at the student-led conference, your child will present to their form tutor and to yourselves as parents. They present an overview of their learning across the year, what have been the high points, and what are the next steps and areas for development. And we've done that successfully in previous years, very well received, where it's about the students taking ownership really of their learning and their learning journey across year 7. So as I say, I've not got the dates for those yet for obvious reasons, but we will as a school publish those and invite you to them, and please engage with us in those events, because they are important for your child going forward. The other thing to raise at this point is obviously the lack of SATs testing this year has meant that we haven't got the normal prior attainment data that we have on the children, or would normally have. The fact that we've not been able to have a transition day as well has meant we've not been able to do some of the testing that we do on those days. The only thing we've got currently is the teacher estimates, the primary teacher's estimates on your child. And we have shared those with staff, and we have used those in our provisional groupings. But obviously when we come back in September, there are numerous things that we've got to do. We've got to identify the gaps in your children's learning. We have been having conversations with the year 6 teachers about what they've been able to cover, what they've not been able to cover. We'll have to do an element of testing when they come in to get a sense of where the children are up to. So that's going to be some ongoing work in September. As part of those baseline tests that we'll be doing, we will be running cognitive ability tests with your children in September, which give us a measure of potential. And we also run the NGRT reading tests as well, which give us that baseline reading age for us as a school, so we can work with you as parents then and work as a school on plugging any gaps that might flag up. All of those results we will publish to you in due course, and as part of the curriculum evenings that I mentioned, we'll also talk through how to interpret those results and things that you can be doing to support your child on the back of those results, anything that they flag up. So there is a lot of work for us to do as a school around that, which we'll be picking up in September, and we'll be keeping you informed as much as we possibly can about those things and sharing that information with you and guiding it as we go forward. I also want to mention the teaching groups that your children will be going into. Obviously, at the time of recording this presentation, I've not got the government guidance in front of me as to what we're going to be able to do when we open. But assuming that we are open fully in September, what we intend to do is we use the model of mixed ability teaching in a large number of our teaching groups and subject areas, and we use some setting in maths and English as well. So once that guidelines are clear, we'll be obviously putting those groups together, and then we'll be reviewing them as well as the term goes on, because obviously not having the full information on your children as we would normally have, we're very much aware that we're going to have to move groups around and so forth, which is not the ideal, I have to admit, but it's the best that we can do in the circumstances. But rest assured, it's my responsibility and the team that work with me to keep an eye on that and make sure we get your children in the right groups and make sure they're happy and settled and they're able to go forward. In terms of setting, I always make a point of this. We don't number our sets. You think some schools set 1, set 2. We don't do that at Freddy's. We keep all the setting anonymous because we want to avoid any stigma that's attached to the groupings. And rest assured, a great deal of thought goes into the way the groups are put together, because we want to maximise the learning opportunities for your child. And in some cases, it's a mixed ability model that works. And occasionally we use a setting model as well. So all being well, that's the model that will be in place in September once those guidelines are clear to us as a school. and we know how we're able to operate at that point. But obviously be mindful as well that we'll be looking at those groups, because putting them together at the minute is quite difficult in the circumstances that we're in. So that hopefully just gives you a little bit of an overview from the curriculum perspective of what to expect in September, what we'll be doing as a school, but also just highlight some of the things as well as parents that you can be doing to support us and to support your child on that academic journey as they start secondary school. So thank you very much. I look forward to welcoming your children in September and getting to meet them all. And at this point, I will hand back to Mr. Worley.
Hello again. If I could just spend a couple of minutes, please, just talk through another key area of school, which is really important to us, which is attendance. At Fred Longworth High School, we do have high expectations with attendance, and we've always traditionally had very, very good attendance from our students. And what we're looking for is for students to achieve over 97% attendance. Okay. Now, clearly there will be times when people are off school, students are off school for valid reasons, health reasons, etc. But we do want students to be in school wherever possible. Okay. Obviously, right now with COVID-19 still in the community to an extent, we need to be very mindful of this, and if any students are starting to show symptoms, etc., then they need to follow the advice around self-isolating, etc. Okay, but if we take this out of the equation for just for a second and talk about our normal procedures, normal conditions, health conditions, students, if they're very, very ill, will clearly need to be at home, and they need to ring into the office. But we do want students to come into school wherever possible, and they need to be aiming for 97% attendance. You can see there on the screen our classifications. So if students fall below 97%, that we call that our room for improvement area, and below 93 is really into the danger zone, and that's where we have a lot of interventions with students. Below 90% is called persistent absence. So that's a student who's having quite a bit of time off, and obviously that's not going to help in terms of achievement. So the reason we do push attendance is because of the clear link between attendance and achievement. It's very difficult for students to achieve if they are not in school. So we do need you to work with us, please, and try and get your sons and daughters into school as often as possible. Whilst talking about attendance, it's important to mention about term time holidays. We don't authorise term time holidays. If for what you may see as a really good reason you need to take your son or daughter out of school for a holiday in term time, you need to contact the head teacher and write to the head teacher. Mrs. Garrett's is the only person who can authorise a term time holiday, but the vast majority of term time holidays are not authorised. Okay, and I'm sure you can understand the reasons why. Okay, so if we could avoid taking term time holidays, please. Okay, that would be much appreciated, and we need the students in school as often as possible. Moving on to uniform and PE kit, if you look on the website, there is a lot of information under parents and uniform policy about PE kit and uniform. Our 4 uniform suppliers, official suppliers, are Wendy's in Tilsley, Icon Embroidery in Astley, then in Lee we have Rosenfields and J-Max. They're all selling uniform. Some of them are doing it via appointment, but if you get in touch with them, they're all our official suppliers. In year 7 next year, we're looking at the blue ties, and students need to have the blazer, the trousers or skirt. If it's a skirt, please, it needs to be the double badge skirt, which came in last year, so it's not the old skirt. We do want to have the double badge skirt, please. We have a concern about skirt length, and this is the reason we have this double badge skirt. Okay, if girls are buying trousers, they need to have the badge on them. Okay, so we do expect the students to wear the correct uniform, and the girls' trousers do have a badge on them. Okay, can you be mindful, please, about shoes and training shoes? Anything that looks like a training shoe will not be allowed in school. It needs to be plain black shoes. Okay, and if you go on the website, there are pictures of acceptable footwear. Okay, so apart from that, it's about smart uniform, wearing the Freddy's badge with pride, and making sure that the students look as smart as possible. Okay, there is more information on the website, and again, if you have any questions about uniform or PE kit, please don't hesitate to ask via the Year 6 questions page on the website. Thank you. Some other areas that are important. So working with parents is really important to us. I mentioned about attendance, okay, and trying to get the students in as much as possible, and equipment and uniform. Please could you work with us? We sometimes have parents who will challenge certain policies and rules. Obviously they're for a reason, and if these rules are there, it means they've been well thought out. We don't just come up with policies that we don't think are important. We look at what's best for the students and for the school in terms of maintaining high standards. We want the same things as you in terms of your children. We want them to do well. We want them to achieve. So it's about working together, please. Homework is clearly really important, and we need to get students doing the homework and getting onto Show My Homework, Satchel 1, to make sure that they are into good routines around doing the homework. And it's about encouraging that full participation in school. It's a two-way communication. Okay, we want to work with you. We do believe it's really important to work with all our parents. Okay, and the key people there are the heads of year, and you'll have the direct phone numbers and email addresses for the heads of year. Okay, and also people like myself and the form tutors. So if we can work really well together, that'll be fantastic. That's what we want to do, and we all want your students, your sons and daughters, to do really well. Okay, there will be worries about starting school, and what we ask, please, is that we try to work through these concerns. The transition days now been set up for September will ease a lot of these concerns, but inevitably there will be little challenges for children when they start at high school. And I think if we think back to our own days when we started high school, we had these concerns and these worries as well. Okay, if we said that bullying never takes place at Fred Longworth High School, I wouldn't be being honest with you. We do occasionally have bullying issues in school. It's about how we deal with them and about students placing trust in the staff to help them. Okay, we don't certainly have huge bullying issues in school, but it does occasionally surface, as it does in any school in the land. So it's important that we know about any concerns and we can work with them, and we can resolve any issues that have happened in school. Okay, so again, it's just reassuring the students that everything's going to be fine, but we need to work together. Okay, so in terms of practicalities moving forward, I mentioned about the skirt issue, that we do want students to wear skirt correctly. We have school meals on a cashless system, so the students can pay money in through WisePay. Parents can pay through WisePay, or they can bring money into the school to pay on the machines. Okay, obviously right now with coronavirus, we are looking into the best way forward with that, and we will contact you if there's a change to the way we manage the school meals. If you are entitled to free school meals, please could you contact the school. We do want to ensure that students who are able to access free school meals do get the free school meal. Okay, so that's really important. We have a cycling to school policy. So basically the students need to wear a helmet cycling to school. When they get to school, they dismount the bikes and they walk the bikes on school site, and it's really important that the bike is roadworthy. We also have a mobile phone policy. Basically no mobile phones in school at all. As soon as they come through the school gates, phones should be switched off, out of sight. Okay, and all these things help the school to run smoothly. Okay, and finally, just to remind you all about the transition days that we have in place for the students. These would have normally taken place obviously this term, but what we've done is managed to get them in place for when we start. So all students have transition days on Tuesday the 1st of September and Wednesday the 2nd of September, and that is for all students, where they'll be based in a form group doing different activities and taster lessons. In addition to this, a number of students have also been invited in for an additional transition day at the end of the summer holidays on Thursday the 27th and Friday the 28th of August, and letters will be sent out regarding this and for those students who had that additional invite. Okay, so you'll all receive a letter about these transition days. Okay, so I look forward to seeing all your children when we come back in the holidays and at the end of September. I look forward to working with you closely, and I'd like to wish you all a really lovely summer holiday. Okay, I hope you stay safe. Thank you very much for listening to this virtual parents evening. Okay, and I look forward to seeing you in September. Thank you.